Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at a play ascribed, it's been given a title, Blame Not Our Author. I don't know whether that's exactly period. Wiggins simply lists it as Comedy of Geometry, which is a very literal title. But yeah, it doesn't seem to have a proper title per se. It originates from somewhere around... Again, we have a best guess from Wiggins. I'm going to go with this one. It's February 1635, but it could be anywhere in the previous 20 years, because this is from the English College in Rome, and is designed to be performed around about Carnival times. So there's some interesting potential context there. But otherwise, I know pretty much nothing about this. That's why I'm literally looking at a big book that will tell me some things about it, because otherwise I know nothing at all. But to discover what's going on with this comedy of geometry, we have a wonderful set of readers who are all different shapes. So, reading Quadro and Rombus is...
DiRoberto in Tucson.
Reading the prologue, Triangulum and Line is...
I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States.
Reading Circulus and Semi-circulus is...
Alan, getting a round and a half in Suffolk.
Reading Compass and Regulus is...
Hi, I'm I'm here. I have coffee. I'm perfectly fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, totally fine.
And reading Rectangulum for most of the session is...
Rachel, happy not to be a square.
Yes, that's all down to Kyle. Kyle, that's not a comment or anything. It's fine. I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will take up the mantle of Rectangulum towards the end of the session if necessary, and I'll be reading stage directions as we go along. Just a general note to everyone. There are a couple of the speech prefixes which are a little questionable. We have tweaked some of them, but we might have got it wrong, or the script might have got it wrong. So yeah, just be aware. If it feels like it's not you, either throw it in the chat if it's a short line, or just stop and go, is this me? If it's a long one. Otherwise, we'll see how we go. Plays in 3 acts, but we start with a prologue. Prologue away, please.
Blame not our author if he once prescend from meddling, or with matter or with form, except the forms summed in both species of quality. His mathematic brain breeds no Minervas, like Sejanus or Scourgeth, abuses naked in the court. He toucheth not my young lord's slender wits, nor drunken springles or more looser kids. His verse touch no ladies or their squires, no sycophants or women that make tires. If none he touch, you'll ask me how he'll please. He swears he cares not, set your hearts at ease.
Just briefly pause there. I think we figured out where the appropriated title came from. They just went, what's the first lines of the manuscript? That'll do. Rather than the fact that it's a very generic prologue in many ways, and you could use bits of that for that very opening thing of don't shoot the pianist, he's trying his best. Though it does go into things. I'm just wondering if there's a name missing. Breeds no Minervas like Sejanus, or I wonder if there's another.
It's really hard to parse the grammar.
Yeah.
Points in that.
It could run on into the next line. It's not a slam dunk. Any thoughts on that little prologue there? The form summed up in species of quality. It's slightly impenetrable, I found.
It is both species of quality. What does that mean? What are the 2 species of quality that we're thinking about here?
Is there something slightly wrong with that opening? There's little bits of those lines that don't quite look right to me, so I'm just wondering. That could be us. That could just be we cocked up in the tidying up of the text. Alan?
I've a funny feeling that the original of this may well have been in Latin, and I'm just wondering if there's some wordplay got lost in translation.
Yes, indeed. I have got it down as. No, I don't actually. No, the original of most of this kind of thing is in Latin, but this is in English. This is one of the reasons why we haven't done many texts from the English College in Rome, because they often are in Latin. But this one, it does come to us in English, so it is an authentic text in that sense. It comes from a manuscript, so there could be all sorts of manuscript issues with it that might be at play there. Let's see if we get something a little more solid to work with as we go into the action. Act 1, Scene 1, enter Quadro.
Help, help! Oh, 'twas my fancy half awake. No, no, it follows. So still help. Help within. What dull distractions beat my restless brain, summoning me forth from rest's pavilion. What senseless frenzy thus encompasses me? Hark, hark, the toads gin croak. O heavens, why spangle ye your darksome canopy, and close not up in everlasting night your ergos eyes, that so my passion may in mourn in the weeds of sable melancholy? Come, night raven, sole musician of the night, screech forth some dolorous echoes, crack the air, howl, wolves, and let your harsher sounds throats cause Cynthia veil her borrowed brother's light. Soft, soft. Why range my passions so at large, unbounded? Yet how can my passions stint to see the heavens all orbicular, the planets, stars, and hierarchies above? Come, Phaeton, mount once again thy coach, and burn this globe that mortals trample on, that jarring motes my frame by chance again. A quadro of this circled universe. No, no, it cannot be. They'll never change. Mortals may change, but they unchanged be. I'll change my form, and that's the remedy. Yet who can change that what's essential? O fates, O heaven, O stars inauspicate. If influence ye shower from above, if power in those crystal optics lies, if force to metamorphosize things below, if might to change a quadro to a round, come fates, come heavens, come stars, dispense your might, force, power, secret influence, but something missing, a careless ear to gild our hemisphere. Hence, patience, the gods are deaf. Nature, help thy son to change his shape. Wit be my artisan. I'll try the help of compass. Ho within. Rectangulum, come forth, Rectangulum.
And enter, as we're going to Scene 2, enter Rectangulum to Quadro.
Behold your servant as upright as a bolt. Though not your tinker's upright man, post to compass, accelerate him hither. Tell him I will be transformed to peripheria.
Sir, he's that quadratus homo should receive no alteration.
Fly, I say, as swift as thought.
Why, now all our square trenchers will be turned into round dishes, our caps quadrangular into flat caps of the citizens of London, our four-nooked pasties into pistachios. Sir, I beseech you, shall our diet also be changed?
Run, I say, I will have things changed.
I see our diet will grow worse and worse, for the ancient four-squared shoe soles of beef shall be metamorphosed to melicotoni bernata, and our chiefest diet is like to be a Norfolk dumpling. My maw digests not this. I pray you, shall we take pills at every meal?
Thou shalt have apples of Hesperides, and taste the plants that grow within the moon.
Surely they'll breed rawness in the stomach. They're so watery.
I'll make the sports that shall even delight the gods in rings and circles in circumference.
Ho, 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 our house will be turned into a tennis court, all the walks pestered with pall-mall, the chambers with truck tables, and the old game of football will triumph again. Faith, there'll be old breaking of pates, old bursting of shins, that compass shall have work enough for emplastrums, and experience shall be his and teach him that orbicularia vulnera difficilus sunt curantur. Sure, then the house will be in great request, and if catch-all come but up again, the world goes round indeed with him. For then fraction of brains, contusion of guts, and ruptures of legs will be so frequent that compass may well find all things out of square. Nay, there will be such a bawling as he shall scarce find one with compass of Ella, as I am an upright man, I like not this.
Hark, hark, the minutes jar and clocks strike 9. Hail, sacred pattern of earth's machina, rare engine measuring fluid quantity, in deadly characters pointing life's decay, running the circles of the night and day. Come, change thy shape with Quadro.
If my master turn clock, sure I must turn jack or some other rascally engine as wheel of Bridewell. Faith, I would he were turned into a football that I may kick him roundly and soundly too. Perhaps he'll have me turned into a crane, a cartwheel, a pulley, or I know not what. Perhaps into a millstone, which if he do, ye faith, I shall be worse than 1,000 millers' black dogs. For I have now an invincible stomach, but then I will scour the hopper, ye faith.
Why still remain in my wonted shape? Rogue, stand thou still, Titoff.
Nay, if the clock begins to strike, it's high time to be gone, for fear the chimes do also ring upon my pate.
Exit Rectangulum.
Come, come, fair figure, best thou vowed friend, thou perfectest of essence mongst them all, not comprehending all dost comprehend, capacious and uncircumcised bounds. Well did proud Belus offspring thy form, erect their temples, cause their altars fume, paint forth a serpent god that bit his tail, and honored him with adoration, when what thou art not is to all ingrate, and what thou art to all is delicate. See, my genius prompts me, thou art at hand. Come, but and change my shape into thy name. I'll altars build and sacrifice in flame.
Okay, I'm going to pause us there before we go into the next scene, the ongoing action. There's several really interesting things here. One is tuning into what the language is doing. Once you sort of get into it, it sort of starts making sense. But there's a lot there just going. It's throwing some Latin at us. I think in performance that can be smoothed over. I feel that some of Rectangulum's stick is some of it's quite good. I quite liked some of the stuff, but it's feeling very much of its time and its universe. Though I don't know precisely what a Norfolk dumpling is, but it lands amusingly. Alan might be able to give us a better answer on that one. We've had it before.
I think a weapon of war that will be prescribed these days because it's fairly solid. It's solid stodge, food of the boar.
But the central question is we've got a square who wants to be a circle. And that's raising all sorts of interesting questions about what that's doing. And if we're thinking about this as the I'll come to that later. I'm just going to let this land as an interesting idea that this player is playing with at this stage. I think the actors need to tune into the flow of the dialogue. It is quite tricky for us to get our tongues around at the moment, and I don't know if that's inherently the text's fault or whether that's just we're not quite tuned into it yet.
I think it was my fault.
Yeah, no. We had this the other day with another play where it was doing a different meter, and we hadn't really tuned into it again. And this is the thing when we're dancing between different meters and different registers and just different approaches to writing. I'm not saying it's not bad in places, but I think it's still got potential, and it's got a direction. But yes, so far it's a relatively simple setup of he wants this, and the other Rectangulum comes in and says, "You can't have that. That's not right." Eric.
What I'm thinking is that maybe this is, obviously, because you said it's the English college in Rome or something. So there's a point going, maybe this is a reference to church shapes or something, but I don't know, maybe that's just me being weird. Like the dimensions of a church, you can have a round one, as in a rounded dome / base, or a square, or a rectangular, like Salisbury Cathedral type thing. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me being weird. Some of the math stuff is kind of interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like we need to read more before we actually get any. Like there are puns, but also I feel like we're missing a lot more puns than actual things.
Yeah, and I think that there are little references to things that sort of we need glossing to sort of we need to know where it's going, and then decide whether we can communicate that to an audience, which is one of those questions. Coming from the English College in Rome, there's this question of can you change shape? Can you change the confession that you are a party to? Might be a subtext that's going on through this. That's sort of part of the purpose of the exercise, perhaps. I don't know. I haven't got any further. So yeah, a certain opaqueness, but then they are shapes. So I don't know whether they're just the outline of the shape or whether they've got a solid fill. I don't know. Let's find out more as the square Quadro was on left alone on stage, but enter Compass as we go into scene 3.
I cannot compass the drift of Quadro. Why he should be turned into Peripheria? His man informed me it was a plot against myself. It may be so. Perhaps I'll fit him if he fall not out of my compass.
Cece, he's here. Health to the architect of human wonder, true finder of the hidden mysteries of nature's secret closet that unrips the closest knot of dark enigmatas. To thee, Pythagoras, that Grecian sage, did pay the tribute of hecatomb. Come with thy powerful skill, encircle me, and turn me to Peripheria, and I'll reward thee and thy labors crown with rich rewards and trophies of renown.
Sir Quadro, if you be changed, you must undergo my direction. You must take a decoction made of carabi, cucubi, cantorides, capillus veneris, coloquinda, chamomilla, and so on to extenuate your junctures. Supple your coccyx, mollify your cartilaginous and crushy parts, that your waxen corpusculum may without incrustation be formed into a perfect rotundity.
I'll undergo whatever you'll prescribe, Sir Compass.
First, take this potion to mundify the ventriculum.
It goes down roundly.
Now let me take measure from the measure of your belly to the zenith of your crown. So now stand with your face north, that the south wind offend not. So let me measure again, yet you are not compass, I must pare off your 4 corners.
Rather remove that quantity away and put me in a punctum.
It's very hard. It were far better you endured my instrument called the square Nair's daughter. But so you may be directly brought unto a Peripheria.
That, I beseech you.
Apply your neck to subjugation, your knees to mortification.
And he binds him in 2 hoops.
Now do I begin to feel my joints buckle, and buckle like a tumbler's backbone.
You must stand intended in this posture the horological compass of an hour. Meantime, for your perfective transformation or metamorphosis, I'll fetch you a hendecasyllabon fume of coltsfoot, coriander, and black pepper, and 3 drams, which shall absolutely do the deed. Or, to be more perfect, I will fetch Vitruvius instrumentum partium, measure the posts of your legs, the pillars of your thighs, the barrel of your body, the sink of your throat, the forelock of your mouth, the capaciousness of your nose, and the belvedere of your omnipotent jowl.
Pray take the measure of every little crevice and hole that you may take all auricular.
Doubt not, I taught him that made the chariot with 2 hexameters insculpted, which could be covered with a fly. and found out the bigness of Hercules by the print of his foot on the hill Olympus, was a great agent in the bringing of Middleton's water to London. I warned you I had fitted you with the metamorphosis. Farewell.
Exit compass.
Oreides, why dance you on the hills and play your gambols in the sight of Sol? Yea, Naiads, why swim you in your brooks and court the watery Cynthia for your queen? Pan's brood, why trip you on the fallow plains and pay your hymns to those dissembling stars? Isn't it that in thy more orbicular or more delightsome in their flashing light covets to dance? Come, Pans, come, ye watery maids, come leave your hillocks, fair Oreides. I'll be your patron, teach you dance around, such as Sylvanus taught his nimble swains. Or Pan himself, with horny-footed pace, wanted amidst the verdant grass to trace. Ha! What disaster checks my freer limbs and weighs upon my overburdened back? Is Apenninus or Olympus hill thrown on my shoulder? Hath the frosty fire left off his tasks supporting the earth and cast the Atlantic burden on my neck? My joints grow feeble and my vital parts benumbed are, and through my body runs a chilling cold. Help, help, Rectangulum, the miscreant slow and hath such leadened heels, I perish in my metamorphosis. Help, help, Rectangulum.
Act 1, Scene 4. Enter Rectangulum to Quadro.
For all my master's metamorphosis, I think I shall find him still in a corner. Faith, if I do, I'll fit him. Master, oh master, where ye hear that a song?
Rectangulum, the world's transferred upon my back or round about me. Help, help, Rectangulum.
Faith, I am no remover of worlds. I am as stiff as a stake. I have the North Pole of my belly. Nay, say you are in a round, I'll dance Sellinger's round in sippets. Or since ye are so delighted with rounding and ringing, I'll ring you a peal of the ring. Both bufflers and bears are led in a ring and pulled by the nose, lest forward they spring. And Quadro is ringed as farmers ring hogs, for fear, like the Irish, he leap over bogs. Can you now make the minutes jar or the clock strike if you were metamorphosed to a horologium apart? Faith, this is jump for my purpose if I once bring the figures out to joint them. Who, master, where are your four corners? Here wants a piece of your heels.
Help, help, Rectangulum, the potion.
I fear all's not well in the south point of the compass. You're so pale.
Villain, release me.
No, if I do not make you run into a corner and recover your 4 quarters again before I release you, say that I incline to the other side and am not as straight as I was wont to be. I'll wringle ye and circumference ye too before I have done. The wringles and pulleys strappados used teach rogues to well live. The conjurers used to circle the devil. The circle of a halter will cure the king's evil.
Sweet, sweet Rectangulum, loose me or I shall.
Sweet me no sweets, except ye revoke your horrid humor of being ringleader to the planets. Now since you're caught, I'll wringle ye and circumference ye too before I have done. Melopomene, smeared as black as coal. The poet wants aid, his wits big with soul. Come help him to chant of circles and rings. There's some that for Quadro are needfulest things. The wringles in jail are fit for your heels. The drunkard makes circles, his tongue run on wheels. The pillory circle will make a man see, although the plank 2 inch thick shall be.
Help, help, I die.
Why, you may see what it is to be out of your element.
He looseth him.
Feel, are my shoulders there? Oh, oh.
And yet, God be thanked, is in good square.
Heaven grant me patience. Tell that mountebank base servile compass that my fury shall rush like a tempest on that castrel kite, and puff him piecemeal to confusion. And as the Aeolian scouts among the rocks, blustering within their hollow cliffed cave, ransack the caverns of their mother Ops, first shake, then rend the ragged front piece, then issue forth with unrested force, fell flat the cedars that withstand their course, so shall my anger tempest on the slave, and like a whirlwind put him to his grave.
I assure you, master, the storm is so violent you had like to have blown me down. Good, good. If this continue, my project will have very prosperous event. Aye, that compass will have his legs stretched till they crack again. Will ye not be revenged?
Revenged? Revenged? Yes, 100-fold revenged.
Patience, sir, a little. Here's Line. He will be sure to second your desires.
And Act 1, Scene 5, enter Line to Quadro and Rectangulum.
Ho, ho, I see if carnival continue, I shall change my shape and be I know not what. I find that Macron adds some latitude to my longitude. I think I shall make the scholars wrangle about my definition. For though I am Line,
That sounds like that should be Line. That should be Line. Okay, Line, would you like to do what was the incorrectly ascribed Rectangulum at the top of Act 1, Scene 5?
Ho ho, if I see if carnival continue.
Yeah, let's try it as Line.
Ho ho ho, I see if carnival continue, I shall change my shape and be I know not what. I find that Marcone adds some latitude to my longitude. I think I shall make the scholars wrangle about my definition. For though I am Line, yet I am not altogether latitudinous expairs.
Oh, wrong. Oh, spite. Not quit the injury. Nay, if I die, my ghost shall force revenge. My pale-faced ghost shall trace him up and down and brandish forth infernal firebrands.
I like not this Quadro. He is ever squaring and squabbling. What? In collar, man, you should be stayed on every side.
Pardon, my passion draws me from myself. You're opportunely come for a remedy. Pray, let me crave your aid and furtherance. The base and gross mechanic compass he hath almost slain by false circuitry.
Indeed, howsoever war squares go you have been little beholding to him. I see by your paleness. And for me, he has so tortured me with puncturas and juncturas that he hath made me divisible in infinitum. I pray you, stretch my little finger secundum longitudinam.
Faith, he hath also almost killed my master. The next turn will be yours.
I think the varlet also made a puncture in the midst of my belly when he measured my circumference. Would God he were slain. For Circulum, his friend, let me alone with him. I'll slice him through the midst and make as many triangulars of him as the cook doth when he sliceth an edge flapjack into portions.
That's worse, for sure. Triangulum is of his faction and may be turned into circulum. At any time, I'll leave the project to yourselves to prosecute.
Exit Quadro.
Farewell, Frost. Now will Rectangulum be presently in his most absolute shape. Line, look to yourself.
I'll go straight and uprightly to work, that none shall ever touch my utmost reach.
Will ye turn yourself to a post or a pillar or a maypole? Faith, Circulum, then we'll dance the Morris about you.
Why, I'll extend myself unto the stars.
And in the meantime, fall in a ditch. Your surest way is to plot a tragedy and to extend yourself upon the ground and muffle up your eyes until they see no light.
And the Line lies down and Rectangulum gets on his back.
Now am I perfect true Rectangulum, and why not the perfect figure? Pish! This but quaestio de nomine is not, Line?
Where art thou, Rectangulum?
Just perpendicular over your back, from vero recta lineas supra rectum consistus linum.
Are you making definitions upon my back? By the help of my cousin Cord, I'll be on your back. Tip-top. Heavens, I misdoubt the slave Rectangulum hath had a finger in this business. He's grown so insolent and talks of being a figure. For this once, by the help of my cousin Cord, I have lined his sides level, but my level must aim at further projects. Suppose I should in oratory complain to Regulus of Compass and his insorbitant demeanors and baseness, and by setting forth Quadro's great grace, make him odious to Regulus. It were excellent, for as for example, thus great architect and sole commander of positions, it is well known unto you how beneficial a subject to your realm Quadro hath been, being compared to wisdom itself, the Athenians deciphering by him Mercurius, the Arcadians Jupiter, being stable and immovable on every side. Nay, this very city of Rome in ancient time was built in Quadro. Man's attitude in just proportion, but 4 cubits. For if any exceed that height, as myself, for example, they were presently judged of extraordinary size, and those that exceeded them for such monsters as Og, the king of Bashan, who had a stag hunted in his shin bone a whole day by a kennel of hounds, etc. This shall be it in faith, this will do it.
And they exit, and that's the end of the act. I'm very confused by the ending of that act. Because it seems like Line just ignores Rectangulum and does a lengthy aside, but then there was a bit towards the end where I'm going, is that Rectangulum? Has it shifted to a different speaker? So there might be something going a bit wrong texturally there towards the end. I was a bit confused by that bit. Everything before that was relatively straightforward, so I really quite liked. There was a stage direction hidden in there as well. Coverts to dance was a stage direction. It was stuck in the dialogue. I really liked the way Compass comes on and just starts talking Latin as nonsense, basically. It was just, supple your co-index, mollify your cartilanges of crutchy parts. I worry about your crushy parts. And you've got to be very protective of those. And yeah, it gives this really... really quite uncomfortable procedure for Paul Square, who is sort of suffocated by the hoops and crushed, and Rectangle has to unbind him and because he can't move and he's in a lot of pain, and then it sort of becomes a revenge plot. We will get Ruwengi on Compass. We're going to stretch his legs out, and in an awful way. And so there are lots of little jokes in there that do work. So there's still an awful lot of random Latin, random bits. I don't think it helps, for example, that we effectively have you'll be turned into a peripheria, which, you'll be turned into a circle. It's kind of what it's trying to say there. So it's using another word for you want to be a circle, you can be a circle, but let's use a different word for circle. And it makes it harder to follow what he's talking about because we're using terms, and there's lots of references that are just sort of flying by. So there is a core here that's quite interesting, but it's surrounded by a lot of stuff. Alan?
I'm just wondering, given it comes from the English college, I do wonder whether it's got connections with those student pieces that we've seen from Oxbridge colleges previously, with a lot of in-jokes, a lot of showy-offy stuff, a lot of stuff which may well refer to specific people who were around at the time. And also, the whole thing does seem to be written in such a way as to make it very, very easy for people to trip over pronunciation.
I don't know. I haven't noticed too much that feels like too many specific in-jokes in that sort of sense. But I think you're absolutely right that it is doing the same sort of job of work. We've got plenty of university entertainments which are inanimate objects having a chat with it themselves, and they will get up to a debatey kind of hijinks. This is doing something slightly different, But it feels like it could be referring to their studies if they're reading, various things about natural sciences, going back to the Greeks. It feels like it's in there. I don't know what Middleton's water. Did anyone got a gloss on that? It rings a bell. I can't place it. It feels very specific, especially for a college in Rome. They are international students, so there are references to Londony things. I think they mentioned and things in England. They mentioned Bridewell at one point. Kyle, were you waving?
I really like it so far. I feel like it's interesting that they've made these shapes so passionate and have like all these different emotions and stuff like that. I mean, something about it is kind of humorous. I mean, in and of itself, and the idea of it. And there also seems to be a lot of allusions to kind of like generic conventions in drama. Like the somebody that wants to be, that wants to transcend themselves or their reality. I mean, there's some funny stuff going on there.
Oh, it's interesting. I mean, because at time of recording, at least two members of this room had gone to see the play *The Maid's Metamorphosis*, which is about someone metamorphosing in a very different way. But this does seem to be about someone who wants to transition to be a different shape, and I'm just wondering whether that's another angle that this is potentially doing for us today, which may or may not be where it was going. I don't think it's doing that in a serious fashion. I think it is more just the idea of shapes wanting to change. But I'm just wondering, it feels like it's landing in odd ways that I'm curious about. Also, I just like the idea of talking about cutting pies up into different shapes. I mean, it's flapjacks in this context, but I quite like the we're going to cut up into triangulars. There's lots of fun shape-based gags, which anyone who's played Trivial Pursuits will recognise well. I'm just sort of rambling here. Someone's found out where Middleton Waters is. Eric, have you found it?
Well, with the help of Google, it's basically a place in England, as far as I can tell. It says Middleton St. George, so I'm guessing that's somewhere. I mean, there's also one in America, Wisconsin, but I don't think that's what they're referring to. And yeah, it seems to be an area which it has water, though I think this must be referring to some sort of canal that must have existed, or like body of water that existed back then.
It feels specific.
Yeah.
Like there's something about it that is part of the reference in the line, and that I forget what it was. So yeah, it's curious. I'm still not quite sure what Line is doing at the very end there, or if in fact Line is doing all of that. Or why, for that matter, Rectangulum was standing on his back. Did anyone sort of understand why he was doing that?
Well, that's how you get a sort of. It depends how he's standing, but then like, if you have a line and then you have a rectangle, you can do it like at a perpendicular thing, and then you can get a triangle and lots of other things, which are irrelevant at this point in time, possibly.
Alan.
There was also in that same speech area, there was also mention of rectum and digit. So one just wonders whether there's some illusions going on that maybe are best not pondered upon.
Well, I think I think it probably is. I always lean towards the probability of a double entendre being played there, and I think that's entirely possible.
I also think from a geometry point of view, if you put a line up against a rectangle, the line vanishes, right? Like
well, unless it's depending on how long it is, because line talks about being basically infinitely long.
Yeah, but also
that would stretch the production
he
budget.
says I'm perpendicular to you, so he's creating an almost cross, but not quite. So I don't know.
I also like the way he refers to chords. So he is a straight line as opposed to a wavy line.
No, a chord isn't a wavy line.
Is it not?
A chord is a line through a circle.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's spelled differently.
Oh.
Well, who knows about spelling?
I think. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So if you have a line that's through the circle, the chord is the portion inside the circle.
Yeah.
So that's why he talks about cutting the circle up, because his friend Cord and he are gonna cut the circle up.
Right. Okay. Let's gather more
I'm
data.
just
Oh,
wondering-
Eric. Yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm just wondering whether these people are actually wearing costumes or not, or they're just walking around with big signs that say like rectangular line.
Basically, the early modern equivalent of a T-shirt with their name on it. I mean,
yeah, it's possible. I mean, we do have plays where people literally just have their names written on them. They're from an earlier tradition, so I don't see any reason why that's not possible. I mean, it does give us all sorts of questions about what the costumes are like. How do you make the square more circular? So that does the square have a sort of square sort of stomach or something, that has to be squeezed, because they talk about putting a hoop around him. So does he have a sort of square circumference rather than, say, a square uprightness? And how does that work? I'm quite curious as to how you practically do that to square with the hoops that are provided. Alan.
Yeah, I'm slightly tangential to that. Eric's now found that Middleton is in South Lancashire. Now, from my recollection, the northwest of England was one of the areas that remained rather more Catholic than the south, which might explain the connection with the English college in Rome.
That might be. I mean, it may be. I mean, the other question about the reference is it's Middleton's water, to London. So I'm curious about precisely the way it functions. Is it Middleton Waters, or is it Middleton's water? So is there something specific about the water at Middleton that needs, and why should it go to London, and how does that work? I don't know.
Or is it a reference to that prolific playwright?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know why. I don't recall him being very water based. I mean, he would be 99% water, or whatever the percentage of a human body is. Anyway, I'm rambling now.
Another early modern sense of water.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Is it Coles to Newcastle? Okay, let us go into Act 2 and find out what's going on there as we go to the person we all aspire to be. Act 2, Scene 1, enter Circulus, Solus.
Well, the Memphian sages trophies raise, insculpted with my hieroglyphics, and thereby compare my figure to eternity. As eternity unbounded is, and endless in his revolution, not terminated by his measured end, or ere beginning by inception. Such is my perfect form, both pyromancy, geomancy, and controlling spells derive perfection from my genius. The spangled heavens to borrow of my form, those that cannot purchase their perfection to imitate their perfectness. Alones, Irides, and Karoulla assemble themselves to our spheroids, sphera, or counterfeit. Ourselves of yore, that peripatetic Aristotle called me the father of all miracles. The Egyptians me Osiris, and proud Rome felicity and watchful providence. But what avail it when subjection makes it most vile? What's perfect imperfection? Why should I subjugate myself to one ignoble, slavish in the hands of all? Base compass, minion of each peddler's pack, turned and tossed by each carpenter. Each pettifogger binds his straying legs to compass distance for his scribbling. Some stretch his umbilicum till it crack, to make him reach what they level at. Yes, I, not I. Yes, I must be his slave. Oh, fates, oh, fates, oh, fates, why grant you this?
Act 2, Scene 2, enter Triangulum to Circulus.
Sir Circle, the fates are at Trigony, and therefore beholding to Triangulum. If you please, they shall attend upon you and dance. Here will be old mumping and jumping in faith, or Compass Hall.
Oh, death to the name of Compass. Call the fates, and let them cut his overreaching thread, or call the Furies to inflame my rage, to blot out his debased memory.
Come, come. I see, as I am the pattern of wisdom, so I must be unto you of the looking glass of folly. If the belly fight against the hand against the foot, and they both play hand and foot against the head, will not the body be distempered?
What? Shall a pair be trodden by a groom? Death, I will trample on the miscreant, condemn him as a mechanic instrument, scorn of the vulgar refuse of the world.
Why should you thus stand upon your points? If I would vaunt myself, I could compare myself unto the gods. Minerva was called Old Triangulum Equilaterum as an emblem of justice, which pointed to either side but inclined to neither. Pythagoras called her vertisiginem and tritogenium and trigonia. Some say she was born on the third day from the creation of the world. The Egyptian had but 3 quarters in the year. Accursed be he that made a tetragonon of them, compelling us to give summer to a perpetual vacancy besides.
Nay, nay, enough. The more thou aggravates contempt of that same artless artisan.
Why, will ye, for some blemish in some abject part of a house, blame the whole building? Suppose your own figure were in some lower house or office, would you therefore condemn yourself of unperfectness because you are not in the upper part of the edifice? Suppose that I, myself, because the Assyrians and Babylonians painted the divots from the form scalenum, being that abared from the true triangulum, which is justice, should fall out with nature's sons, rouse up Geleuron, Calais fire, Actius, Megalesius, Ormenos, Nicona, Mimona, etc., and cause them to make a faction in the universal order of things, were it not madness? Or because there are many circulatores, you should condemn yourself and the more learned philosophers, or condemn all syllogisms because there is syllogism in circulo, or compass because he is handled by mechanics.
Act 2, Scene 3. Enter Rectangulum to Circulus and Triangulum.
Faith, if be not deceived, this worketh for my purpose.
I'll rend the villain Compass' staly sides, and drive him hence, beyond Antipodes.
You remember how often he hath raised your sides, what incisions he hath made, how he hath quartered you and martyred you.
Villain, why addest thou flames unto the fire?
Ooh, Triangulum, the old conjurer's looking-glass. Come, come. I'll show you your fate in a glass of faith. Every cobbler speckles you, as the toes of his shoes thou art cut out in portions of cheese and ricotta.
My collar is up at thee, thou corner creeper. I am not compared unto a decade, and what then a decade? Am I not compared unto a decade? And what then? A decade is more perfect. Romulus, that Roman king, senatores in decem decurias, urbem in triginta, curias idex triplex, equities in totidem, decurias principes consentatos decem mensis. Nay, to add to man's perfection, nature made him 10 toes and 10 fingers.
So were there 10 pirates that tasted of Wapping in a triple decade of tinkers hanged at Banbury. A decade of my nails shall claw you by the ears. Tiff-taff.
Exit Triangulum.
If you'll be called by every prating jack, faith, you may have your sides scraped and scratched again and again.
No more, my passion hath transported me. The sun shall not encircle once this globe, nay, shall not touch our western horizon, and kiss the cheek of and Fariti Queen, if I level this same growing pain, just level with the earth, and with his rustic hand equal his height unto the lowly land.
And exit Circulus, enter Compass to Rectangulum.
Never was man thus tortured with company of rogues. Here hath been at my chamber this morning a jury of tailors, craving my aid to measure out a cropped outlet. The ale conner at St. Andrews in London sent his letter to desire my help to know the true circumference of the black pots and the true commiseration of the 2 penny bottles of bottle ale. A fastidious astronomer to know how many cowtails would reach to the third haven. But, oh, the pity, I've been so pestered with a gentlewoman about her farthingale that I had to live, compass the world, as have been turmoiled with the fashion on it. Certain courtier to have his mistress carved in a cherry stone, another to have a mathematical chain for a flea. But he that most pestered me was Euclid about a certain demonstration to be made of a circulum heptagonum. I assure you, he pushed me.
My engine works. I arrest you.
Oh, me? Ah, rectangulum, what? Returned Isbury?
Why not? Your Isbury are in rectangulo, in curvangulo, et in omnio angulo.
What's the cause? I ne'er offended.
It's cause enough to great ones that you stand in their light. Do you not remember the parable of Aesop's fox, when he went his forehead, to be brief? Circle hath combined with Quadro and Triangulum, and they have informed Regulus of your actions, and incensed him against you, so that there's an edict out for your apprehension.
I'll presently present myself to Regulus and clear the accusation by showing myself innocent.
It's better to wait till their furies wot to give way, and to do it upon cooler blood. Meantime, for the edict, I have an invention.
Say what invention?
You know how often I have been beholding to you for setting me upright. See, I am now upright as a bolt. For that old kindness, I'll machinate your deliverance. Leave me the project. Meantime, for your security, convey yourself to this press.
And he puts Compass into the press.
Good, good. Credulity, I'll sacrifice a goose to thee for my happy success. Now, sweet goddess, be also propitious, for here's my master.
Act 2, Scene 5, enter Quadro to Rectangulum.
Yet, Earth, why dost thou shadow him? Sure he lies hidden in thy center point, or in some cloudy mist enveloped, that so my fury and my restless rage cannot assail him with a furious storm. Heavens, why did lines stop my out-thundering?
Thundering.
An echo or rectangulum?
Rectangulum. Why are you raging, storming, and thundering? Your 4 square thunderbolts, and know not what thunder hangs over your head. Compass hath made a large indictment against you to Regulus, and hath procured your banishment. I see part of it myself. You are accused to be the harborer of strumpets, and that they anciently took their denomination from you being called quadrate. That you are the founder of hazarders and dicers, and hath sworn that the dice are made of your bones.
All games are lawful if the dice be square.
Nay, square or not square, 'tis nothing to the purpose. And they say you have some affinity to the cards.
The wool cards are most needful instruments.
Card me no cards. I say the knave of club cards.
Why, they are also good upon the square.
Square or not square, they are unlawful. And they say also that you gave the groundwork to the draft and chess in all the noxious games you have some hand in other besides.
Enough. Come drop down, ye heavens, and make me not myself, rain, fire, and hail, and scorch to nothing this microcosm before my foe shall triumph over me.
Sir, I have not the wit of a woman that consists in a flash. Give fire to my hopes. If you would have fire to be given to your hopes, you must convey yourself into my tinderbox, sir. The stratagem is this: convey yourself into this press for the sequel. Let me alone.
And he, Rectangulum, shuts Quadro into a press.
Still good fortune as circular as thou art, I adore thee. Nay, since my thread spins so accurately, faith I will have a fit of mirth to drive it down withal.
He draws out a bottle.
I think this is the true nepenthe that will make us right quick expert. Denke quid non, and see to mend the matter. Here comes Line, well whittled.
But before we go onto Line, let's digest some of the action here. Rectangulum is causing all sorts of mischief, telling people that they're in trouble or in various ways, and then puts them in a press. Is he changing their shapes? Is he squashing them down? What shape's he turning them into? What's going on? What is this press? How does it function? What kind is it? What's going on? Alan.
I think press in that context is probably just a cupboard.
Could be.
That would be the normal definition. But yes, whether he's forcing them into rectilinear shapes is another matter.
I quite like the idea that that it's that kind of thing. But you're probably right. It probably is. They just shoved them in a cupboard for fun. Circulus has some issues with compass. Nobody likes compass. I mean, he's a bit of a windbag, but he's nobody seems to like him very much.
Well, he's sort of a know-it-all, kind of like, yes, look, I invented everything. I invented the wheel. I invented this. I invented that. I helped them. I've been busy with the tailor and the gentlewoman and all that stuff.
Yeah, how would you be able to define yourselves without my measuring ability? That's clearly that. Yeah. What do we think of Triangulum? What do we think of the triangle? I'm not sure what to make of the triangle. Lynn?
Me either. No, no idea. And he keeps going on about the number 10. I have no idea what the number 10 has to do with triangles. It's not divisible by 3. It's not, I don't. I mean, I was good at geometry in school this half century ago, but I mean, if you put enough triangles together, you get like a hexagon, but you don't get a circle. So I don't.
Whereas I'm quite also curious about in a more straightforward way of just rectangulum as being the source of mischief and disorder, because of course he's not a regular shape, is he? He's not like a square, which is sort of perfect thing. He's offside square. So I'm just wondering if he's got a chip on his shoulder because he's not a square. Or that kind of logic, and that's why he's causing all this problems. Is there a class structure to shapes? I think there kind of is. That's what this play's telling us. Who knew? Alan.
I think we've got the usual excuse for student drama: too much cheap vino.
Yeah, well, you say it's cheap. But yeah, it's I put in the chat that it does feel like they've been learning about shapes, and so they've written a play about it. And it does sort of have that feel. And it's just like every so often it's really good, and I'm really with it, and then it just drives off a cliff in terms of verbiage, and I just lose track of what's actually going on, and that's quite frustrating because I'm kind of with it. I want to be with it more than sometimes the text gives us. It's just that little bit too opaque to really make it sing, and even physical business, which obviously would help with the question of what is actually happening to these shapes when they're getting bundled off into places. Eric.
Well, also, Rectangulum talks to Circulus about how, you remember how Compass raced your sides and quartered you and martyred you so many times. So there's a problem going, this is a mixture of astronomy and maths. And because obviously to get like sort of directions, not just. I'm assuming this is a compass, like a sort of like a map maker's compass, not a compass as in like pointing true north.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a
at this
measuring.
point.
Yeah, it's used in that fashion. Yes.
Well, I guess it could be both then.
Who don't? Well, you can magnetize it. I'm sure you could. Okay, let's finish the act. Act 2, Scene 6. We had Rectangulum on having a drink. Enter Line to Rectangulum.
I have been so troubled with the company of rope makers, the rope stretched them all, that what with carousing and quaffing amongst them, scarce can draw a right line. And for Quadro's oration, it turned to Linea Imaginaria. For a company of sailors, with their hideous exclamations and stretching their lines, drive the matter quite out of my head. Haul the main bowline, spritsail, mizzen, haul the main tack, Toulure, now to the lee shore.
Bring the juice of Hebe, chase away sadness dull. Bring the sweet nepenthe, fill the bowl up to the full. Strew sweet flowers, sprinkle the ground with sweet bramble till we ramble and drink in a round. Come, 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 bring forth the ale, brown as berry, let's be merry, lest our nose look pale. Down, 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 Bacchus doth blow as a merry fresh gale. Down, 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 let's carouse the jolly bouquet.
O Rectangulum, how fare you since the lusty lining I gave you to your doublet?
Faith, so, I have forgot it. Let's be merry. Take this, it will cure melancholy better than Rio Barbarum.
Gives him drink and sings.
I think it should be sings drunkenly.
Probably, yeah.
Bring the rosy elignant, choice as that Vulcan drinks, Mog hell and termagant. Fill the cup up to the brink. Come, fair nymphs, crown of delight, take your labor with your tabor to play Bacchus right. Quaff and laugh until our heels begin to stagger, and we swagger till our body reels. Down, 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 down. Now do my nimble tongue caper on wheels. Down, 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 down. That carouses no sorrow. He that carouses no sorrow he feels. Crown our heads with nectar till the moon call forth the night, and the fair Hyperion hath his clear light. Fairy gods, come forth your hills, trip with pleasure, dance the measure that all sorrow kills. Bows that can till we go round, and rectangle begins to wrangle and falls to the ground. Ne'er a good fellow, but drinks till he's swound. Down, 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 down. Come bring the bugle to tipple profound.
Faith, you sing not so merrily, but I might have sung as merrily for this morning Bible. The minister came to me to have me translate the Psalms into better lines. I gave him a parcel of poetry thus: defend us from the papists, Lord, by thy precepts divine, and draw them to us in accord, or with a sacred line.
You should have warned him when he preacheth. He made a rectangle thus.
I bade him stand stiff to it.
Faith, I think by the ellipsis of your tongue you have been wandering through the ecliptic line.
Just. And there I saw Jupiter and Mars at tilt with two poles, and ran so just in the midst that their poles met, joined together, and made the line called the axis of the world.
Will you say if compass be slain?
Is he slain? Let me hug thee as close as the vine the elm.
Nay, slain by his dearest friend Circulus, and you may apprehend him for the murder.
I will run in a linea recta to Regulus to procure it. Linea autem recta est quae brevissime inter duo puncta interacet. I will go to the briefest way to work.
Soft fire makes sweet malt. First meditate on the warrant, make it ready, and then as fast as you will. This suit is my project. He is the partridge I must now fly at. I'll leave the matter to yourself.
Act 2, exit Rectangulum. Act 2, Scene 7. Enter Triangulum to Line.
I'm both of these. Does anybody want to take one
Oh,
of these?
I apologise. I must have missed that little collapse. Who wants to be Line? Just for this scene.
I'll do it.
Kyle, there you go.
Okay, yeah.
I was just Line, now I am Triangulum.
Hmm.
I fear his passions are too violent. Whist.
Suppose I should frame it thus. Regulus, governor of the mathematical sphere, to all under officers, Scalenium, Rhomboids, Esocylus, Pyramides, Prismat, Sic Conum, Pentagonon, Polyagonon, etc. Health. These are to will you and command you to bring Circulus to answer to his accusations made by Linnea against him. And therefore, if you shall be resident in any of your quarters, whether he be in Circo Maximo or Parvo or in Circulo Artico or Articio, nay, in the circle of this universal globe, to bring him of this, fail ye not as you tender your properties.
Master Line, I pray, what's the accusation? Your lines are somewhat bitter.
What's the accusation? Matter enough. Your friend Circulus hath killed Compass.
Killed is certain.
Most certain. He hit him in the equinautical of his belly, so that his puddings crept out. And some said he so stretched about his legs that Compasses quite cracked again.
Learned you this.
Rectangulum.
Pray stay our warrant till some further proof hath made the matter evident.
Nay, there is no beseeching. I am as immovable as meridional line of the dial from being always 12.
Exit Line.
So there's some plot in this, and yet his passions were immoderately against Compass, unreconcilable, outrageous, and yet methinks he should not be so audacious as to attempt it. Apollo help my weaker intellect to penetrate this sophistry. Is not the tripod emblem of man's wit, with Delphos oracle bequeathed to Socrates as pattern thereof? Or else why hath Dame Nature endued him with a trigony, with intellect, the will and memory, unless she willed him thereby to comprehend all the learning in the world, which sings a song of 3 parts, dividing itself into moral, natural, and contemplative, which afterward is subdivided into so many several various accents and diversities, as it were of several sounding notes, that the world rests astonished and amazed at the harmony thereof. No less is human reason directed by the same order and confined by logicians to 3 propositions, which, like a settled loom, proffer themselves to be wrought on by all sciences as theology, philosophy, in general, rather. Then I'll not find this pullet. I'll set thee, whose machina a work to sound the depths of so perplexed a chaos. And see, here comes Circulus. I must have some project ready.
Act 2, Scene 8. Enter Circulus to Triangulum.
It's good to stand behind a tree to watch and kill him as he passes in the way, like treacherous Paris underneath a tomb. It's that cunningly to poison. Come, Mithridates' ghost, and with thee bring thy poisonous, intoxicating ring.
I perceive he hath not yet killed him. I begin to smell Rectangulum.
No, none of these. Soft, soft, I heard a voice. Some approaching murders must be still and plotted in the scowling of a night, whereas the moon wrappeth herself in cloud, and stars like dying sparkles seem extinct, or in some grove where shades and rocky vaults, dismembered cliffs and mossy inward lanes, yield a theatre for a tragedy.
His passion deep must not run too far. He's dead.
Dead? Who's that happy messenger?
The hapless messenger, Triangulum.
Oh, thou'st too good and hast too open ear.
Nay, you have slain him.
I thought the news was false.
You.
I?
You, by unkindness.
Could do that deed?
It did, for while his strengthless courages did force dispense unto his vital parts, he called on your unkindness, till at length, with suspiras, deep and grievous moans, heart-breaking throbs, and many a bitter tear, his frozen blood ran all to cheer his heart, which made him pale and cold as icy snow. And is, quoth he, this laurel of my meed? And folds his arms, and sometimes them outspreads, raising his drooping head from his couch, till seizing down his pillow, he drew under. His heart you yield, and heartstrings break asunder.
I would he lived.
I must lament his loss.
And I.
Yet it's too late to mourn what's past. Revive. Suppose he lives. Could your angry brow clear and chant him as Acantida once when Halcyon calms the rougher seas?
But can he love me?
Persuade yourself. About an hour since I saw a warrant composed by Line for your apprehension, plotted by Rectangulum to entrap you by some sleight. Therefore, follow my advice. Post to him till I lay in ambush thereabouts. Ask his counsel about the warrant, and follow what he prescribes aggravate. Still your hate against compass, prescribes aggravate still your hate against compass, and for the event, let me alone.
Hide yourself close hereabout.
I am secure.
Rectangulum, oh Rectangulum, shall still my fury fret my inward goal, still my care lay groaning at my heart, my passion feed upon my soul in thrall, and cause me ache with such a wounding smart. Come, fury, care, and passion play your part, fret, gnaw, and feed my gall, my soul, my heart.
Excellent.
The rogue is dumb. What ho, Rectangulum? If once I catch the villain in my paws, I'll drag him as Amphitryo's bastard son did Lycus in his funeral sacrifice, and dash his limbs against the tattered rocks.
And Act 2, Scene 9, last scene of Act 2. Enter Rectangulum, 2 Circulus, and Triangulum. We're losing our regular rectangle and or irregular rectangle. And so I will read in. Who knocks?
I knock, Rectangulum, to crave thy aid, to butcher compass nature's aberration, born when the wolves and weasels crossed the way of his damned parent.
Why, you have killed him already, and now do you come to crave aid of me? There have been warrants out for your apprehension any time this hour.
I'm glad the long-legged slave should trace no more about my weary sides. But is he slain? I killed him not.
But to pleasure you, I did.
Let me embrace thee. I'll reward thee for it. But some sudden advice for security against the warrant.
If you'll be rolled by me, I have a secret press into which you may convey yourself till I gain your release or invent some other stratagem.
I like the project.
So he shuts him in. I see some do gape and fortune flies into their mouths. Faith, now I have almost caged all the old ones except Triangulum, and if I could catch him in the rule of 3, I would presently post a Regulus to have my patent signed. I have it ready, if faith. Pulls it out, as it were. To all our regiment, to the governor's immediate Quadro, Circulus, Triangular, and to their inferiors, Semi-circulus, Rombo, Pentalpa, Health, be it known, etc. But this Triangulum, the worst of all that can be worst, still hangs in my light. For what's worse than a triagonon? 3 things most unmerciful: a woman, the sea, and fire. And in every turnion a man may find a woman. Well, I'll seek rather to fetch in the fox than to rail at him. Exit Rectangulum.
This crafty spider drew his slender lines, and from his forehead framed a silken clue. fastened his knots and polished his loom, entrapped those flies that combated themselves with crested foreheads and with lawny wings, with buzzing noise and sounding murmurings. But I have caught him, though the thread was spun. This spider's web by me shall be undone.
And they exit. Okay, so we're almost like we're slowly getting a plot. It's like, so Rectangulum is he's taking everybody out. And his last one to take out is Triangulum. This is an ongoing stratagem here. He's managed to persuade Circulus to go into the cupboard, get in the box, and yeah, but we are in this situation that Triangulum is sort of chatting to Line. He's been told that Compass is dead, and that's and Circulus is still trying to kill Compass, and he persuades Circulus that actually he's died for love of Circulus, and it's like, yeah, it's almost got a farce plot, this, but it's arranged it in such a way that it only sort of makes sense after all of the stuff's happened, and it's like, yeah, all this is frustrating because there's such good in this, and then there's also just words. I feel a real combing through this to make it function. It would need a lot. It needs a lot of, some of which can just remain in place, and you just need to know what you're saying when you say it. It's like when he's reading the letter bit. It's like I didn't quite know what was going on there, and then I sort of figured it out after I finished it. Yeah. So get in the box. Basically it. Alan.
Most of the toys have now been put in the cupboard.
Yes. Will they escape? Will they be allowed out? We're moving on to irregular shapes in a moment. So, Eric.
I'm just wondering if this is the same shtick as Game of Chess, where you've got a bag at the end of it. Like, we don't know how to resolve the plot, just shove them in the bag. But also, is it the same box that they're all getting into?
I'm assuming so. I mean, nobody says, get off my foot, which is what you get in Game at Chess when everyone gets put in the bag. I don't know. I don't know how that works, really. Or do they have several chests? Is anyone banging on the chest to be let out at various points? How is that working? But yes, I was thinking Game at Chess for occasionally there. But it doesn't quite function in the same way as, I don't think, do shapes... I mean, unless it's a toy box and they're all shapes from the toy box. In which case that sort of works. I could see that as being a sort of way of doing the production, if that makes sense. But then they're more cute. They're more three-dimensional objects rather than two-dimensional objects. And they do feel like they're two-dimensional in that sense. So maybe this is all set in an Etch-a-Sketch. Maybe that's how it works. They're all fridge magnets. I'm just going to keep throwing things out there and see which one sticks.
I think it's like the shapes, when you have like kids from preschool that have to fit like the shapes, like, a circle goes on the circle, the triangle goes on the triangle, all that, and like it's Rectangulum is basically trying to shove triangular stuff into the circle and circle into the triangle, I think.
But what happened to Square's great desire to become a circle? It's like this opening gambit has sort of just been thrown away, which was a shame because I thought that was quite interesting. Oh well, never mind. Act 3. I'm sure all will be resolved in a satisfactory and interesting way. We shall see. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Semi-circulus and Rombus.
What news, Rombus?
Faith none. The Venetians have intercepted the letters. Only I understand, Semi-circulus, that Regulus hath made you knight of the half-moon.
It's false. He was so melancholy at dinner. I wished he would have taken you for a lozenge to scour his occiput, for his hindermost brains have been much troubled.
Well, do you kick, Master Horseshoe?
If I should kick you in the mouth with the salsiccio that I stole from the dinner, I think your iron stomach would digest it.
I can digest heartily such jests. Thou art the true magnet that hath drawn my iron stomach to thee, or the precious jet that hath made my strawy guts rumble to leap to you.
Why, then you are stuffed, it seems.
I protest, with nothing but wind.
No. Did not I see thee crush the walls of a custard to toss a pike clear out of the broth lake? The place of the servitors fed upon mutton like a muttonmonger, and left ne'er a maid at the table?
Heavens, I saw none of that here. Was there such plenty?
Plenty. There was a capon, too good for thee to gape on, and also as good mutton as ever knife was put on. Why wonderest thou, God's lid? There was a great cod's head, and 20 devil junkets, as good as any monk eats. Macaroni, veal, beef, and pheasant, larded with bacon grease on it. Sturgeon and dainty peewit, my stomach still doth rue it, to see them lurch the partridge.
Would I had been at that siege. This salsiccio hath made the room in my teeth. My mouth waters at its sweet. Conduct me to the ruin of that feast. I may clatter the empty platters, and fall upon some of the dismembered quarters of those that escaped in the battle.
I'll keep you out of those quarters. I warrant you, lest you should look so bombast your quarters, that Quadro should not be known from Rombus. Take this, and be thankful.
Gives it him.
Come, cousin, salsiccione, I'll tear thee to the bone. Without our knife or whittle, my teeth shall be the sickle. I'll mumble on thy fat, and gnaw thee like a rat, while he that gave it may pass for a constable and an ass.
Sirrah, I'll keep thee from blaspheming the constable, and taking his name in vain.
Constable, where's the badge of your office?
It's all one. I am created.
That a lie, you are begotten.
Give the constable the lie. I charge you in Regulus' name, stand further off. Be silent, or by virtue of my office I'll ferret you.
I always took you for a coney catcher.
I charge you to be silent, or I...
If you charge me, I shall be very ready to shoot.
For reverence of the place. See, he approacheth.
I am mute.
Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Regulus to Semi-circulus and Rombus.
Compass by Circulus of Direvent slain? Pish, it cannot be. This too true. Did not the mournful crow presage his doom when from the hollow oak her croaking voice did ring sad notes of that catastrophe? Did not the thunder shake the thorny oaks when... did not thunder shake the Dodon oaks? Nay, cleave their knotty joints, spreading arms as clear predictions of some luckless fate. What then? What then? And Circulus must die by Regulus, and he is widowed plant, whom autumn's fiercer blasts had rifled of his fair blossoms hang his drooping head.
Semi-circulus, I'll speak to him.
He'll crack your legs and make you a trapezier.
Yet justice, all impartial as a rule, must make the crooked straight and level out the modest for the rest to imitate. Kings must not mock and make plebeians smart by carrying fire and water in our heart.
Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Triangulum to Regulus, Semi-circulus and Rombus.
Justice! Justice!
Still more disaster. Say the business.
Rectangulum hath murdered his master Quadro.
Oh, villain, justice, justice.
Cease clamor. Equity shall yield revenge. I'll sign your warrant for the murder.
He signs it.
Still more griefs. Why trace ye another and roll your surges to the gentle shore? Come all together with air restless motion, and overwhelm me in your bitter ocean.
I could almost let fall a tear, but my project hinders it. What helps this sorrow or this irksome care?
Comfort yields is freed from fell despair.
Joy is the life of the immortal gods.
Sorrow doth please when passions are at odds.
Mirth fats the heart, adds marrow to the bones.
Sadness makes music in her deepest groans.
Joy paints the face with delightsome dye.
Laughter, the emblem of man's foolery. Come care,
Come joy,
come sadness,
Come delight, bring mirth.
bring tears,
bring laughter.
bring despite. Condole ye plants and sorrow-sounding lawns. Perish ye roses in your tender buds. The dowries of my hopes by fates lie slain. Lament ye rocks and waters showered forth tears, till I, like swallows, mourn, or as the birds of Memnon did deplore the sun of chaste Aurora, to condole their deaths.
Or rather sing, ye swans of Thamesis, and warble forth some pleasant melodies, to chase these clouds of sadness clear away.
Hence, siren, tempt me not to leave my cries, and celebrate with tears their obsequies.
And exit Regulus.
This breeds some melancholy humours in me, but I must follow till the scent is hot.
I thought it was not for naught Regulus was so lumpish. I always judged he had some plumage rather in his belly. Howsoever, this works on my side, if the warrants began to fly about.
The more fool, the better luck.
I charge you not a word more.
I hope, Sir Semicircle, though you are not installed in your office, you can execute a warrant.
I warrant you I'll make this slave Rectangulum buckle. But first my fees.
There's a full reward.
I could also be tempted with a golden shower to aid the constable.
That fortune rains upon you. Hold.
A whole multitude of pistols protect you. A battalia of hungers guard you, and many millions of crowns light upon you. Come, Semicircle, let's about the business.
Watch here about the house. See, opportunity offers him. He approacheth.
Act 3, Scene 4, Rectangular enters to them. Now must I change my tone and begin to speak big like the north wind when he roars aloft. I must not now prate in the vulgar strain, but thunder like hail commixed with rain, as for example, come, peasant line, and tie my looser shoe. Rogue semicircle, patch my elbow, slave. Come, compass, villain, help to trust me round. I see already I begin to have the commanding spirit of authority, and want nothing but my patent signed.
How insolent the villain bears himself upon him.
We attach you for murder.
Murder.
Me?
You, for your master's murder.
Let me but loose, I'll fetch him forth alive.
Let him not stir till I return again.
Exit Triangulum.
You'll patch me at your elbows. I'll teach you reverently to speak of the constable, thou vasty pasty trencher groom.
Act 3, Scene 5. Enter Line to them.
I have humbled the constable Semi-circulus this 2 hours to have my warrant executed.
Help, Line, and draw me from these villains' hands.
Authority doth bind with straighter bands.
What? Hath he resisted authority? Let him be tied with the line of severity, and take the four-coded discipline of penance against the most upright post of punishment. Fie, avaunt! I am ashamed of thee.
They accuse me most unjustly.
Unjustly, he hath killed his master. Out, varlet. Thou hast killed the Quadro of all virtue, the quadrilaterum and foundation of all colleges, the quadrilaterum and basis of all, and the most potent and eminent pillars of this town. What say you? Have you not also conspired in the murder of Compass?
He lives.
Out, frying pan of deceit and frothy scuffler of falsehood. Didst thou not animate me to sue this Coronto against him? Master Constable, let me help you to transport him before Regulus, my lord.
Act 3, Scene 6. Enter Regulus and Triangulum to them.
Enough. Justice's blindfold yields to each his due. Tortures shall force confession from the slave. Come, miscreant, discover this black deed, the cause and why thou merciless murderest him.
Give me but respite, and I'll bring him forth.
These dilatory pleas avail not. Ransack him.
A patent to be signed by Regulus for the confirmation of Rectangulum to be made perfect figure.
Presumptuous slave, bring present torture forth. He that by villainy doth seek to rise towards vengeance on his hateful circuitries.
Pardon, my lord, I have imprisoned both Quadro, Compass, and Semi-circulus, and thought to get, while none withstood my suit, this patent signed for sovereignty. I think this is Regulus's. This is Rectangulum's.
It does feel Rectangulum, doesn't it? Yes, let me
Yeah.
try it as Rectangulum. Pardon, my lord, I have imprisoned both Quadro, Compass, and Semi-circulus, and thought to get, while none withstood my suit, this patent signed for sovereignty. But since my scope have failed in the event, I yield myself to your arbitrament.
Release them out and bring them forth.
Come forth, Sir Quadro, Compass, Circulus. Lets them out the box.
Mercy, the indictments are unjust, untrue, and Compass falsely hath suggested them.
I never suggest old Quadro's ill.
But I laid wait to trap thee in a snare.
I against both did subtleties prepare.
But I beguiled all and raised dissension.
But I prevented all by good prevention.
I now embrace what I did persecute.
I join with all, and all congratulate.
Hence care, the mistress of sad funerals, carry thy cypress day, gird the graves of thy distressed, doleful paramours. Come, joy, and with thy peaceful olive wreath, circle our heads and crown our cloudy fronts. And as for thee, thou author of our grief, I censure thee from henceforth to remain a bondslave to all figures in this train. And in as just rule and due to all I give, let him that squares from rule and compass be vassal to fear and love. Yeah, let him that squares from rule and compass be vassal to fear and base severity.
And they all live happily ever after. End of play. So it's like, yeah, I quite like that. I really enjoyed that act. It was like, it was a difficult road to get to it, but actually then we sort of like, we've got a plot now. Rectangulum wants to be raised in his station from a sort of slightly unimpressive, irregular shape to be a more like square, and so yeah, he gets rid of all the other important shapes and puts them in a cupboard, and law and justice is resumed, and they all live happily ever after, and yeah, Alan.
I loved the way it sort of developed into that sort of two-line doggerel at the point. So, and I think someone put in the chat that echoes of Dr. Zeus.
Mm.
You know, I was expecting a cat with a hat at any moment.
Well, we've had this in, we've talked about this in boys' company plays. You have these two random servants basically turn up and do some wordplay at each other. And actually, for once in this play, the wordplay is actually quite fun. And I know what they're talking about most of the time because they're just talking about food. And it really bounces along quite nicely. And it was a nice introduction, and we get Regulus in as our sort of chief person, and as the supernumeraries, as I say, the servants are the slightly odd shapes. We've got a rhombus and a semicircle. It's like, they don't really count, do they? They're not properly regular shapes, are they? No. There was a joke. Where was the joke? There was a joke I really liked. There was a pun I liked somewhere, and I've forgotten where it lived. Oh well, never mind. I'm sure I'll find it again at some point. But there was a joke. There was a joke I liked. There were several lines I liked. By virtue of my office, I'll ferret you. I bet you will. Though for a modern audience, I think we have to be careful to adjust any lines about golden showers. I think that might get a laugh that the audience probably wasn't intended. I'm fairly certain that's meaning something slightly different. And I mean, hell, I will chase after any gag most of the time, but I think we should. There are limits. But yeah, I'll mumble on my fat and gnaw thee like a rat. It's some good stuff. But it is a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's a slightly opaque mess. I can see a route through though. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, given that the provenance of this, the English College of Rome, which presumably was educating up the children of Catholic recusants, there's damn little Christianity in it. There's quite a lot of classics, and obviously they were not great fans of formal mathematics in the sense of plain geometry.
What was that bit with Line, where Line was talking about translating the Bible into English? So I'm starting to wonder what does that mean? What does that say about who Line is supposed to be? So it's an odd text in that sense. I'm not quite sure if it actually really what it's doing or why in that sense. Is there a level of satire in there that is so subtle that you don't quite understand what it's doing? Carl.
And it's Line that also mentions Pappas. So it might be that Line is Protestant.
Yeah, but in which case, what would, because in a sense, Line is, where does Line sit within the social strata of everyone? Because people stand on him and make, is he supposed to be the butt of all the jokes? Because I didn't quite get that impression, but then it was quite difficult to quite know what the gameplay was. So. Okay, structurally what we've got here is we have almost a false start with the first act. It's like we've got square wants to be a circle. That's an interesting idea in itself that is sort of developed for a bit and then totally abandoned. And it is a shame because I quite like that. That's almost a little playlet in its own, a 2-3-hander, in its own right that actually you could do something with, and I quite like. Then we get this plot where Rectangle is trying to take over the world, and I quite like that. And I think, again, if you cut a lot of the Latin stuff out or translate it, I think some of it you just don't need it because it just throws you off. There's a silly, short little upstart kind of logic to it that I quite like. I mean, it's not exactly a deep play. But yeah, there is something there, but I don't think as it stands. I'd really think that you'd need an hour to explain some things to the audience before you started, and maybe project ongoing translations onto the back wall as it goes on, because I found it difficult to follow what was going on a lot of the time, and I don't think I was alone. I'm talking a lot, which usually means that it didn't go well. Alan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether what we've got is something that was done as a sort of end-of-term entertainment by a group of bored students, and it's just the accident of survival that means it's come down to us.
I say I believe, as I say, we have got more texts like this. It's just, they just tend to be in Latin, and it seems to be they mention Carnival, so and that's why I mentioned that at the beginning as a potential date for this. That it's effectively as part of a wider events that are going on. But yeah, Carl.
I was just wondering if maybe it's little kids or, the younger ones, and maybe for learning Latin, if it's mostly been in Latin, maybe it's a way of like performing and so learning Latin better. I mean, I love little bits of this so much, like you do. I think it's got some great moments, but then I get lost frequently.
Yeah, it's going to need some fine. It's not. You just need to do this. You sort of need to go through it line by line and find the stuff you like, and then and make adjustments as you go. It's going to be but it's luckily it's not very long as it stands. But it will make a nice little one actor. I think you can get it down to 45 minutes, and it would, which would require jettisoning about 25% of the text, and I think that would be fine. I think it's an adapter rather. I mean, we'll record it as it is. With some adjustments. I think there are some problems just straightforwardly with the text. I think every so often there's just, we need a word here, we need an I, or we need an A. Give us something to make this sentence make sense, because sometimes I think there is just straightforwardly there's a missing word here or there that either has got lost in translation or transmission, or we've just accidentally hacked it out. It is possible. Eric.
I just wanted to throw out the line, "Out frying pan of deceit and frothy scuffler of falsehood." I like the description.
Yes.
That was my favorite thing that I got to say.
Frying
Frothy
pan of
scuffler
deceit.
of falsehood. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But also, I've enjoyed this play so far. I mean, okay, it takes a bit of getting into, and I do like how it occasionally name drops like mathematical terms and mathematicians and astronomers, in case you think that they're not serious. But yeah.
Okay, final thoughts around the room. Lynn, I detect a certain struggle with this one.
Yeah, I got nothing. If I kind of needed you to explain what was going on about Regulus, and the whole thing, the square wanting to be a circle, was kind of a dead end, kind of a red herring. I got nothing.
That's fine. We don't have to come up with things. We can always just say and move on. Eric, you just said some thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably that wants to see this on stage, but I don't know how you would do it, just because you need the physical actions of like being bound in hoops and like having sort of having Quadro, aka Square, struggling and like sort of with his transformation and his clearly were-shaped transformation, werewolf or whatever. Yeah, I feel like, but it needs workshopping to work out exactly what's going on throughout the play. I don't know if I would cut it as it is, because it's already very short. But yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, okay. So here's a workshop pitch. Squaring the circle. Is just take that primary action of Act 1 and just workshop that, and just figure that out, because actually I think effectively you've got two separate units of action in this play, and that Act 1 is actually quite self-contained, and that would actually be quite a fun exercise, actually, just in terms of designing the costume / props / stuff, what you're going to do with it, and say just unpack that text as you go and try and understand what's going on and how you communicate it. I think that's a really good step. The first
but
step
also kind of I do like the device of like, Rectangulum doesn't actually kill them. He just kind of goes, well, actually I just locked them in that cupboard because I didn't want them to be in power anymore, so just and now I have to serve them, really.
That's why I quite like the toy box idea, that he just puts them back in the toy box, that they're all just toy shapes in a thing. I don't know how you stage that. I'm leaning towards animation for this one, it has to be said. I think this would make a cute animated video. And actually, it wouldn't be expensive to do, because all you'd need to do is have the shapes bouncing around and do some very basic lip movements. And it wouldn't even have to be complicated lip movements. I think that might even be within our budget of possibility. That's not impossible. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. As I say, I've a feeling it was an end of turn entertainment that was probably only ever intended to be a one-off. And I think it, as I put in the chat, it's a play with hidden shallows. There's some nice bouncy bits of rhyme occasionally, but there's also some horrendous tongue twisters earlier on with some of the rather fractured syntax.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering whether there was someone who was actually trying to write to limits in terms of number of syllables to the line in some cases, and the sense of the meaning became subservient to that.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about whether we cut it or not, it does feel that actually it's more just actually quite surgical changes need to be made to really make this fly. And that needs to be done with a lot of care, and will take, and that's where doing a workshop, which is partly physical, to also then work through the text as well. I mean, it's like we were stumbling over a few issues with who was speaking, and it's like that end of Act 1. I'm really not sure what the text is doing at that point, and that needs clarification on a very straightforward of who is saying that stuff, because I'm not sure all of that was that character saying it. There's also a huge amount of work to be done with the sides, because there are a lot of unmarked asides, and sometimes it was clear who they were asides, and sometimes it could go either way. So there's a lot of that kind of work to do. Kyle, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe in some way, I don't know how you would do it, but in some ways I saw like how we're seeing the beginning where square wants to be a circle. In some ways there is this through thread of the rectangle not wanting to be a rectangle and taking a different approach, because square wants to be transformed, but rectangle takes a different approach and throws everybody in the closet, and so achieves his goal. I don't know, but how you would, or if that matters or anything. But yeah, that's all. That's my last thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's about who you are, but also who you are within the pecking order. He effectively wants to transfer the status of square to be to transfer his status as a rectangle, which is sort of a lower status square. I like the idea of a rectangle as a lower status square, and that gives us a question about class in terms of how you perform it as well. And do we do that? An element of that, Eric.
Yeah, I like the idea that if you're performing this, like if when you get to the sort of point that Rectangulum is trying to murder them instead of actually like sort of showing like messing with the audience, sort of going I have a sword, and then like sort of forcing them to back into the closet and then shut the door. To sort of I don't know, I would like that sort of misdirection, I think, which would be nice.
So final thing from me is just to say this has been performed in relatively modern times. Just to throw that in. I don't really know very much about it, but there is some details of that online, and if I remember when I post this video, I will post links to those things. But I think when the Malone Society did an edition a while back, there was actually a production that actually dealt with this, and I do believe people are interested in it in various ways. I think because of the idea of the play, as much as how successful it is, we're not quite in the same universe as when we looked at Parliament of Bees, where I was horribly disappointed with the text as it came out, from the potential of lots of bees to its actual realization, which I was very disappointed with. Whereas this, I'm sort of halfway between that. It's like there is potential here, there is some stuff here, but it is buried under a lot of other stuff as well, which is a shame. But till next time, all that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. You too can become a reader. You can join us. There are sign-up forms on our website, beyondshakespeare.org. Sign up and join us. It is entirely free. Anyone can join us. There is no process. We just say you want to do it, and we'll send you an invite and give you a part, which is randomly assigned. So that's how the system works. So if you want to join us, you can too. Be in a little box like all of us here. But to all of the people who are currently looking at us through the rectangular window, thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. I could also be tempted with a golden shower.